Hi, city rambling episode. Want to talk about psychopaths. Yes. Psychopaths, I think, is a very misunderstood group of people. I didn't know much about them. I thought of psychopaths. I just kind of like try to explore them as a creator, and then I started researching on Quora, and then realized I know someone in my life that is potentially, very highly likely, a psychopath. And that person is a very chill person, very chill. Um, in fact, we really rely on him for a lot of very nerve-wracking stuff because psychopaths don't have cortisol. I mean, they have very little cortisol, so they can just turn it off. Cortisol is responsible as your stress hormone. Stress hormone, like that is basically the hormone that makes everybody scared. Feelers like me, unfortunately, has a plenty of cortisol and oxytocin. So, according to this Quora article made by a psychopath, talking about the different wiring of psychopaths, apparently they have smaller amygdala. If I butcher that word, just forgive me. It's such a weird word. They have smaller amygdala. They have this roughly. This generally seems to be 15% to 18% smaller.
The amygdala has traditionally been considered part of the limbic system, a group of structures linked to the processing of emotions. The amygdala has historically best been known for its role in processing fearful emotions.
Yeah.
When a threatening stimulus is present in the environment, it is thought that the amygdala is also involved in identifying it as a threat and initiating a fight or flight response to it. More recent evidence, however, indicates that the amygdala is active during the processing of positive stimuli as well. Thus, it is now thought the amygdala's role is more complex than that of a threat detector. It may be involved with assigning positive or negative value to stimuli, and with a consolidation of memories that have a strong positive or negative emotional component.
In terms of neurology studies about them is probably the most accurate. A lot of studies came from criminal and justice study, which kind of examined mostly criminal psychopaths, and that's what gave the impression of them being criminals. But they are not criminals. A lot of them are doctors, lawyers, average folks or gamers, just or even singers and VTubers. They are very average people, just very misunderstood. Because they have less oxytocin and less cortisol, it allows them to be very brave and very detached. They are not attached to even their own identity. They can morph anytime, adapt anytime. If I want to make a comparison, then it's definitely Miki from Miki from Parasite. Ah, that's right, Parasite. Yeah, they are. Oh, and another series that's full of psychopaths is actually this anime. Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen is full of psychopaths. Funny enough, you just need to add a few characters together, then you get the psychopath's profile. Even the main character, who is like supposed to be a feeler, doesn't act like a feeler at all. He is just too brave. Yeah, the psychopaths would not feel much fear, and they can't relate to fear. They have trouble relating to people being so scared all the time. So their fear illustration will be the most unbelievable, sadly. You have to experience fear to know what is fear, right? They don't know what is panic, they don't know what is fear. So they can get a little bit uneasy. That's about it. Sometimes I envy that. I am in. A lot of times I'm more of the nerve-wracking person. I'm more of the uneasy going person. Because I'm INFJ turbulent, which is another stem for like somewhat insecure, and neurotic, which means fearful. Yeah. But fear has its own function, as in like a lot of mothers in the wild who are more nervous keep their child in safer places. I'm not sure a combo between a Luftball INFJ and a fear is a good combo though. Whatever. At least I have non-stop mind theater that can provide entertainment for myself. That's the perks, I guess. And oh yes, my character Cyan is my go-to psychopath character right now. And when I created him, I wanted to explore psychopath traits and tendencies. And funny enough, I unknowingly put in a lot of accurate traits and tendencies. Like, for example, he is not attached to any identity. He can turn himself into a woman, a girl, an old man. He doesn't care. Psychopaths, if they have a model, is I don't care. I don't really give a pretty much. Oh, I can't do that. I just can't do that. It's like friendless, what is that? Delete if I don't need it, you know? Oh, I never just can't do that. It's just, we care too much. We want to not care. We have moments when we can shut it off and get, I don't give a but that's not long. Then we go back to caring. Yeah. It's opposite of a psychopath. Oh, we also need a lot of oxytocin feels. We need the feels. We need the hugs. We need the emotional support. Yeah. Sometimes, well, psychopaths, because they don't care so much. So it's hard for them to. This is the part that's funny. It's like you need a little bit of fear to keep yourself on schedule of something. Because psychopaths don't really have that. It's like they are more like a better for crisis, but for daily management and daily maintenance stuff, it's a little bit more difficult for them. They really have to care. They do care. They have to care in a conjunctive way, in a logical way, in a way where it's like, oh, this equation equals benefit for me, like that. Which I actually also very naturally put it into Cyan. He wants everything to be calculatable, measurable, and scientific, even with his relationship. And that's pretty much psychopath trait right there. And psychopaths also, because they don't have oxytocin to feel better, that they don't feel anything from a hug. That's a little bit of a sad thing. Hugs are nice. Anyway, they don't feel much from a hug. So they have to rely on dopamine receptors to give them good feelings. So they look for dopamine related stuff to fill them, either like a very stimulative stuff activity, or just the activity to feel dominance, or activity to feel really high, you know. Now, for dopamine related activities, that part is very similar to extroverts. That's why they get confused with extroverts, but they are not exactly extroverts nor introverts. Just because of their wiring, they really are kind of in between the two, you know. So, and the psychopaths I talk to really don't get the fact that most people can't adapt on the fly like that, like them. Like you can't just turn extrovert, okay? You can't just turn introvert. All right, it's just we're stuck. We're more stuck than you are. risk and reward related activities really important for them. And I think they are very fascinating group of people, and they definitely have traits that I envy and would love. I don't use the word envy very much, but they really do have that. Though some of the traits I really do envy. I can never be one of them, but It's really good to appreciate them. And closing thought about psychopaths. Quite frankly, a lot of us also have a psychopath mode. We just don't live like them 24/7 in that mode. For most people, the psychopath mode come out when there is a survival situation going on. Like when you're starving, when you are feeling very threatened by your loved one, or when you're feeling very threatened by just the situation and condition alone. And then the mind will go into survival mode and being very calculative in terms of what is my best chance and behavior to do in order to survive this. And that's what I would say is the average folks survival mode. But you have to minus panic though. Panic is just not very psychopathish-ish. It's if you can think calmly, that is. Yeah. If you can calculate about a situation, whether it's worth it for you or not, yeah, that's pretty psychopathic. All these people who have very unusual, like not the norm adaptation. They are also just people. As quite frankly, every common folk can be just like them. We'll have moments when we become like them, but we don't stay in that mode, and they just do. They are in that mode forever, like for as long as they live. And for psychopaths, they are born with it, so it's not even their fault. They're just wired differently. And in terms of a life lesson that I learned from a psychopath, I think the most important life lesson that I have learned is to do that calculation when I'm not in a survival mode. Is to calculate whether this investment is worth it for me or not. Quite frankly, all relationships has a cost, and as an INFJ, sometimes I get into a relationship that is too costly for me to maintain without being able to filter that. And the psychopath's principle of living, which only maintains relationship that truly matters to them, in terms of survival, in terms of benefits, is very helpful to me. So that's my closing thought on psychopaths. Thank you, psychopaths. And that's a wrap, folks. See you in the next video. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions for future videos, welcome to just let me know. And hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. Thank you.